A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-Cole credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. We are powered by the OBBM network. Man, on every one of your streaming networks, you can find us, including Roku TV. What a wonderful, beautiful day out today here in Texas. How's everything going, Sam?
Hey, well, happy International Podcast Day. How awesome is it that it fell on Monday, the day that we come live with everybody. And it is pretty cool that, podcasts have taken, some podcasts have taken on to, this visual component as we have. And thank you to OBBM Network for getting us on the big screen. Hey, look, Mom, we're on TV. Now, that's what I used to say. When you had the video camera, the actual video camera, you could hook it up to the TV. You'd see yourself. It was pretty funny. But
we're showing our age.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, video cameras used to be a thing, not on your smartphone. You could not do that with a phone back in the day. Anyway, John, you and I, we do not get really political on this show. I mean, yes, we've talked about the Secret Service because that's my background, but I
that's not political.
It is because of where it's happening. And if you guys haven't heard, because you've actually been working and doing, what you should to earn a living, it's getting harder and harder every day. That Tampon Tim Walz, his wonderful state in the city of Minneapolis. Yeah, I called him that because, ew, tampons in boys' bathrooms, please. Now you don't even have to be a citizen of the United States to be a police officer in Minneapolis. So, while the cities were burning down, mostly peaceful protests, and the police officers were putting their lives on the lines out there, and all the aftermath out after that, where basically cops are still walking around with targets on their backs. Last time I checked, you raise your right hand, you swear an oath to the United States Constitution. Hello?
Yeah, how do you do that? How do you do that as a non-citizen?
They probably have an exemption clause somewhere, in their special non-citizen to protect and serve a community that they probably don't give two shits about.
As long as they're getting free stuff.
As long as, exactly. Just keep giving them free stuff. They probably, starting salary is probably higher than everybody else's, because DEI. And Sam, it is a mess.
You bring up a good point on this aspect, is that kills every immigrant that came here illegally, studied, and went in front of a judge and put up their right hand and swore an oath. That
it's a slap in the
everything
face.
That they tried for. It's a slap in the face to all the illegals, that came into this country and studied hard. They took an oath and they want to do better. Now we're just giving them jobs.
Well, John, you said it. I mean, this was like last year on one of the podcasts that, because there was such a shortage that they were going to have to lower standards. This is like, this isn't even a standard. This is like, hey, we got an open door. Anybody can apply, blah, blah, blah. Forget the background check. We don't even know what you've been doing your whole life because you haven't been in the U.S.
Don't see how.
Anyway, we
Wow.
just had to cover that because it truly is a big slap in the face,
It's a
and
disgrace to law enforcement.
overall there is a plan. This is not this is not that show, that kind of show. But if the job wasn't stressful enough, that's got to be for the men and women who serve in Minneapolis. Oh my gosh. Prayers to the citizens of Minneapolis. Prayers, because I don't know. We got gangs running around here. Are they just going to like, oh, you're a gang member from Venezuela. Yeah, come on in. We'll give you a job.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe in Minneapolis because, Tampon Tim. And
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Don't get it either. But
or like his wife says, let's just turn the page. Let's turn the page. Oh,
yeah, we're turning the page further and further into the horror movie. That's the problem.
Just close the book on the United States.
Yeah. Well, some think that's the plan. But like I said, welcome to a Badge of Honor podcast, because we're not that show. We can point you in the right direction.
And I got a good segue into our guest.
There we go. You go. Tag your it.
And I got to spend a wonderful day out on the golf course with the Thin Blue Line Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club with a whole bunch of police officers breathing in this beautiful air on a gorgeous Monday morning in the sunshine with their brothers and sisters in law enforcement and different organizations. And everybody came back to the clubhouse just feeling great because they were in the fresh air. And it was golf that did it for them. That's their thing. It was just the walking around, the physical exercise. And that's what our guest here today has, so many options for our veterans and our first responders to get that physical exercise and wonderful fresh air.
Yeah, and we first met them at Carry the Load. They are nonprofit partners like us. And we've got the co-founder of Operation Get Out, Cindy, present. Welcome to a Badge of Honor podcast.
Thanks, Sam and John. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. Well, tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app all about you.
You bet. So my name is Cindy Present. I'm from Austin, Texas. My day job is I'm a wellness director at Lake Austin Spa Resort, and have spent a lifetime in the water sports and wellness industry. And we'll kind of circle back to that in a little bit. But Operation Get Out was founded out of trauma, out of a loss. One of my dearest best friends was a nurse here for Starflight in Travis County, Kristen McLean. And Kristen McLean and I were running buddies. We loved to train together, to get out on the water together, to get out in nature. And what I learned after befriending her in a very fast and furious relationship, my son would call her the biggie size of me. So we were very similar in spirit and personality and in the love for what we did in our spare time. But what I learned with Kristen was that when she would have a tough shift, she would call and I'd be like, hey, how was your night? And if it was, it was pretty good. If it was, it was not so good. And she would say, let's get out on the water. She'd come home at 7, 8 in the morning and she's like, hey, let's go paddle, or do you have time to wake surf, or how about we go bike ride? And I knew if it was, that was her need and her go-to. And so we spent several years with that friendship. And Kristen and I, both female athletes and individuals who had a passion around wellness and activity. There was a program or an event in Austin for several years. And John and I were talking about wakeboarding earlier. It centered around wakeboarding. Wakeboarding was a pretty new sport when this event called Wake Chicks started. And the gal that was hosting it wasn't able to do it anymore. It was one of those, those organic grassroots programs. And she kind of did it for, I don't remember, 5 or 6 years and dropped it. And Kristen and I were like, oh my gosh, we're female athletes. And Sam, you've probably been to some of those women's events. And there's just a power and an energy around getting women active together. And we were like, let's continue this. Let's continue this Wake Chicks event. And we did. A couple of friends and with Kristen and I put this event back together, and we called it Get Out Girl. And the Get Out Girl event was about getting women out, getting them active, and getting them connected. And we hosted that first event in 2014. And in April of 2015, Kristen had an accident on shift and came off her hoist during a rescue incident in Austin and lost her life in April of 2015. And of course, as any good friend would say, we're not doing the event again because it was so painful to move forward with that. And that lasted about a month. And I was like, of course, we're going to do the event again. We need to do this. And when Kristen died, she had flown for about 7 years in Colorado for Flight for Life. And the pilot she flew with for those 7 years came to Austin for her services and spoke at her services. Kristen passed in April, and on July 1st of 2015, Pat Mahaney's helicopter went down with Flight for Life in Colorado, and he lost his life. There were 2 critically injured individuals in that crash as well. And during that time, we had so many first responders coming to us saying, Kristen loved the water. We are in deep pain right now. Can you help us understand why Kristen would go to the water, what she wanted to share with us of the water? And Pat Mahaney was very much that way too. As a water guy, whole family enjoyed the water. And myself, being somebody in the wellness industry and also a competitive water sports athlete for years, I too knew that during tough times, I'd kind of organically take people to the water. I mean, John, you talk about walking the bridge at the Trinity, and there's something that happens when you take people to the water. But what I didn't know was what the science was. And so when we lost Kristen and lost Pat, I was suddenly on a crusade to understand the science. And at that point, I found an individual, a scientist, Wallace J. Nichols, who studied and wrote a book called The Blue Mind. And the blue mind is the validation around the science of what being in, near, and on the water does for us physically, emotionally, all the biochemistry markers. And I'm sure y'all are familiar with what happens. Your cortisol decreases, your adrenaline increases, your dopamine increases, serotonin increases, heart rate, blood pressure decreases. And that was the science that I needed. And with that, we captured that science and moved forward with the founding of Operation Get Out.
Wow, that is a lot. And we want to unpackage it because it's so important that the first responders and the veterans understand, because there's more and more what we'll call recreational therapy. But when you get the science attached to what you do and you can talk about it, it kind of clicks on some light bulbs. It's like, oh, I don't have to sit on the couch. So we want to get more into that when we come back from our first break. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Move freely, America, without medical restrictions or penalty. Without medical freedom legislation in place, our rights and freedoms are one vote away from being dissolved. Move freely, America, with one voice, without fear of retribution, achieving a common goal, medical freedom. We the people make our voices heard by connecting with state legislators and engaging a constitutionally compliant medical Bill of Rights for all citizens. Individually, change is improbable, but as an aggregate, attainable. It's time to act with one voice. My voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
And my voice.
To protect our freedom, creating one voice that cannot be ignored. This requires your voice, too. Move Freely America. Go to movefreelyamerica.org to find a chapter near you. Plug in, donate, and help our legislators defend our God-given rights under the Constitution. Move Freely America. My voice.
And my voice.
And together with your voice, we're one voice that cannot be ignored. Donate today. MoveFreelyAmerica.org.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our wonderful guest, Cindy President, with Operation Get Out. That doesn't mean just get out. That means get out and start moving. There's a different term for get out. As a man, I feel that. But
get out of here.
Get out of here. But it's get out. And, we see it all the time, but sometimes we get a little bit lazy in our daily routine, sitting on the couch, doing this, just not getting out and really enjoying nature. And you brought this forth for our first responders and our veterans. And it shows and it's proven to have a wonderful impact on the mental mindset. Correct, Cindy?
Absolutely. And, our mantra with Operation Get Out, and the key word is intentionality. I mean, our mission is to provide events, outings, and resources that intentionally utilize nature and water as a therapeutic benefit for mental, emotional, and physical wellness. And I was saying earlier, as a wellness professional, my goal for individuals is to help create a wellness toolbox. And there needs to be multiple tools in that wellness toolbox, right? We all come across different events, some bigger than others, some not so. And to know what our tools are and to intentionally have those tools that we can dip into to respond to a situation, because we all know it's not necessarily the event that it's how we're responding to the event, right? And the mindfulness and how we engage. And so to be able to look at that toolbox, okay, well, nature and water resonates with me. Nature and water may not resonate with everybody, but for the circle that we fly in and try to help inspire, it is a tool that you can intentionally be utilized and have a community support you to utilize that tool.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because you brought up the science behind the water. You brought up the science behind the water, how it decreases the cortisol, but increases your dopamine levels and serotonin, and it lowers your heart rate. And for someone who's been in couch therapy a couple of times, every therapist has a little waterfall or trickling of water going in their house, in their room while they're doing the therapy session. Proven fact that water does reduce your stress levels, either being on it, in it, or around it.
Absolutely. And what we know is that water, when added to nature, has an exponential effect. I mean, the science around that validates that in studies of seeing the same picture. I'm very fortunate right now. My office looks out over beautiful Lake Austin. So across from me is a beautiful hill. Without the lake, I have all of this biochemistry positive effect that happens. But science also validates that when electrodes are placed on my brain and my blood is drawn, from the point of just seeing the hill to then adding the water, there's an exponential effect. Of course, it resonates with me, right? So I have a response to that. But to your point, John, even a fountain in the room, or even a picture, right? A picture of a moment that you had, maybe at the beach, or a moment you had that you remember, you will have a very similar biochemistry reaction in your body just looking at a picture. So surrounding ourselves with those different mechanisms and tools is super important too.
And let me ask you, Cindy, does everybody have the same response? I mean, if there's so many people that we've talked to that it's like, okay, nature's great, whatever, fishing, being on the water. But traditional therapy, because my friend did it, so that's what I'm going to do. Are there people that you just have a hard time getting out?
Not necessarily get out. What I find the beautiful part of it, and I think John mentioned it earlier about the golf course, but connection, and Sam, I know, studying resilience, connection is a huge part of resilience. And so with Operation Get Out, to get active, to get connected, many times that can happen near the water. It can happen on the water, whether you're connecting to something bigger and greater than ourselves, which is kind of that awe and wonder of nature, which has a huge scientific validation behind it, or connected to somebody else. And then what I find is that unlocking can start happening at that point, right? You're either gaining confidence, you're gaining connectivity, you might be managing a fear in a different way. But to your point, if water doesn't resonate, we've had so many individuals out that, whether it's for economic or socioeconomic reasons, cultural reasons, they didn't have an affinity for water. And so I've had many individuals that scared to death of water. So it became a moment of taking power back, right? Of learning that to dip my toe in the water, that is a super brave thing for many people. To submerge my legs in the water, to have a life jacket on and then float in the water. So overcoming fears is taking that power back. And then that helps pour into that resiliency and either unlocking and taking the power to make additional steps that we might need for our own wellness, or sometimes just that confidence building in itself at that point in time is a great wellness opportunity.
Oh, that's great, because we do have segments of the population, and I've been around people before, and it's like, they're in their 40s and I don't know how to swim. I'm like, what? And so I can understand that might be a thing that you run into every once in a while. We've got to take our next break, but when we come back, I want to talk about what are the activities that you do on the water, because it's not just one. We'll be right back, everybody. Stay tuned.
Interested in starting a podcast or TV show? Worried about what you'll say and how to keep it engaging? Think you'd like to be a guest on podcast, radio, or TV shows? Hi, I'm Susan Hamilton, owner and founder of OBBM Network, and I would like to invite you to an OBBM media training to get the tools you need for a relaxed and polished performance you'll be proud to share. Our specialized training techniques include role play, voice training, and everything you need to deliver a confident, clear, and engaging interaction. Go to offbeatbusiness.com. Go to the calendar and register for a training that's convenient for you. Dates available now, 214-714-0495.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam, and Cindy present with Operation Get Out. We've been discussing the science behind what water does for people, or just the outdoors does for people, and it opens up your mind. But it's that getting off the couch. I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people is that getting that moving aspect, to saying, because they fall into that rut. So getting them up off the couch, once they're there, they are totally engulfed with, wow, this is what I've been missing. Have you had those people come there and go, man, I should have done this a long time ago?
We have. I mean, life is a finely tuned skill, right? We create those skills, whether they keep us on the couch, right? Whatever it is that plants us there, or those skills that once we turn the tables a little, empower us to get off the couch or to be inspired to do something different. Our biggest opportunity is community and connection. And I find that that's the beauty of many of these organizations and agencies that we work with, is that there are groups that kind of grassroots grow within them that know that nature and water is their jam. It's a wellness tool for them. And so they're inspired by it. I will be the first to say, unfortunately, I did not come from a military first responder background. My dad was Army, but for a short time. When Kristen had her accident, and when I was suddenly around these first responders who come home, right, to whatever's going on at home and have to compartmentalize what happened at their job or their deployment, and then come home and things are supposed to be super important at home that are no longer important in life whatsoever. And these communities that I'm seeing populate around Op Get Out are those that, you know what, you've had a bad day. It is not selfish for you to go paddle. It is not selfish for you to go walk that bridge across the Trinity. Let me bring you dinner tonight. But it's that empowerment of knowing what works for your community, and then inspiring and empowering and supporting them to go to what that tool is for them. We all have tools that are positive. Some are maybe a little negative, right? Because they're not long-term healthy. So to have that community that supports those healthy tools, that then resonates to get them off the couch or to change those habits that become tried and true, because the body's going to want to go to what it knows best. And once we can switch that, a community is probably the most impactful relationships, meaningful connections to change those.
And you speak the truth, just from, what we just had a joint event with two other organizations out in nature with first responders. It was a way for them to just, they said, to be able to leave the phone and the craziness of a computer in the office and all the interactions on a daily basis, to just breathe and let the waves take us where they wanted to. It was a blessing for them, and having that realization is key. And I will tell you, my husband and I, we invested in some property and we're in East Texas, and just 24 hours there, it seems like we had a reset where we were there for days.
That's awesome.
Also, another friend whose husband served in the police department for 20 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
He would come home. She knew when he'd get off shift. She also knew if she found him fishing, leave him be, let him do his thing.
Awesome.
He'll come in when he's ready. So that was his way of unwinding after a really tough day. What are some things that you guys do? Because when you go to your website, you're like, oh my God, this is so awesome.
Yeah. Well, the things that we do, I call them sneaky tools, right? So whether it's a paddleboard or a kayak, or, in 2 years ago, August, we did a bike drive for the kids at Robb Elementary to get back to school. And we fundraised for 800 bikes. The bikes were a sneaky tool,
Nice.
Right? They were a sneaky tool to get some of those children talking again, to get them connected, to get them outside, because then we knew what was going to happen, right? There's all the power of the relationships and of nature and of breathing and of flow activity where thought and action becomes one. So a lot of healing around that. It's the same thing with other events and activities and outings that we do. So paddleboarding and kayaking, cycling. We have a very large boat manufacturer that supports us for boating events. And John mentioned wakeboarding. We bring the science around surf therapy inland. So it's a very non-risky sport, surfing, but we're able to perform that behind a specialized boat with Centurion boats and their generosity to provide boats and drivers and provide this activity inland. Again, a lot of science around surf therapy and where action connects with thought process, and then you get that flow state. You also get confidence, right? We know that regaining confidence is taking back your own power. And those are big steps to resiliency or overcoming stress and trauma.
And are these multi-day events or single-day events? Both?
Both, Sam. Yeah, both. So, for instance, we have a fall retreat coming up. That's an event we host on Canyon Lake annually. It's about 100 people, and it's a wellness weekend. So wellness weekend with singer-songwriters under the stars, boating, paddling. The goal is to create space. And you mentioned it a second ago, when you get out to your land, I think we are all so surrounded with life and not having any mental space. I hosted an event this past weekend with 250 women paddleboarders, and that benefited female first responders and nurses and military. But in that event, we have 1 moment of silence on the water, 1 minute. And the comments I got after that for just 1 minute, right? Like, oh my gosh, I heard a fish splash, or oh my gosh, I heard a bird. But that's available to us, 24 hours a day if we so choose to take that minute. So again, it's that intentionality. And we know that if you can create that space, whether it's getting out or going to your property, but that space in nature gives us that headspace so that we're no longer in the middle, but we're able to see things from that 30,000 foot view a little bit better.
I'm gonna ask a stupid question, and I'm sure there's somebody out there that's just like me. You said paddleboarding. Please explain the difference between paddleboarding and wakeboarding. Are they the same thing? You stand up on a board, right? Are they?
So paddleboarding.
No. I need to be explained.
Well, they're all boards. That's right.
Because I've never done it. I've never done it before.
You're spot on. It's a board. So a wakeboard is a boating activity behind a boat or a cable system
okay.
where you're
The
I'm
wake,
talking
a
about
little bit more like a snowboard. Mm-hmm. Paddle boarding comes from the surf industry, and it's just basically an overgrown longboard. And you don't have to paddle it. You can use your hands and prone on it. You can sit.
Then I misspoke when I said wakeboard.
Right.
I meant to say paddleboarding on the training, because you see the people standing up on the long surfboards and they paddle. And I thought, I said, that takes your mental mindset. You can't be stressed because your body's got to worry about balance, and you got to paddle. And there's so much going on in your body that it decreases all of the stress out of your body because you're focused on that one thing, that one action. So exactly. I misspoke. I mean, I definitely misspoke on that.
And actually, it's a beautiful point because you're speaking about that flow state of an activity where your action becomes mindfulness, and that connection takes away all that peripheral, right? You kind of come down into a one-dimensional space, and you're working on that activity mindfully, and then again, all of those biochemical markers happen with your dopamine and your serotonins and your cortisol decreasing. So, yeah, great question.
But thank you, and now I know the difference.
Yeah. And it is different. It is different things because the wakeboarding's more because you're being pulled behind a boat,
right,
more fast pace and everything. And then the paddle boarding, you're doing your pace. So I've heard people connect just in different ways, but it is total flow. If you guys are just joining us, we are having a fascinating conversation with Cindy Present. She's a co-founder of Operation Get Out. We're talking a little bit about the activities that you can participate in as a veteran or a first responder, or both, because I think in Texas we have the largest amount of first responders that also are veterans. So we've got to take our next break, and we will be right back with Cindy. Stay tuned, everybody.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and Cindy Present with Operation Get Out. I'm learning things each and every day now, and through this podcast, I learned the difference between wakeboarding and paddle boarding. So, woohoo! I'm happy. But I want to go back. I was scrolling through Facebook while we're on our break, and Sam, when we talked about the water and pictures and everything else, and as a picture could just change your mental mindset. Sam, you post a picture out your back door, overlooking the water, Lake Ray Hubbard, and your pool, and it's just so tranquil. Even if there's clouds there, if the storm's coming in, it just gives you that peaceful feeling that you post it every single day, and I'm sure that inspires somebody. I'm sure that does something. It does it for me. I look at it and I just love to see the pictures, but I'm sure other people who see those pictures are like, wow, that's really a nice picture. And it changes their whole mental attitude for the day.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate that. It's definitely feedback that I've gotten. And because Cindy, I didn't necessarily know the science behind having just a picture posted.
Yeah.
I'm going to be posting that on a Badge of Honors page now so that people can partake if they don't live on the water. And part of my story, as you know, I do that because it is something that I got connected to way back when, because it was my toolbox. It helped save my life. And the fact that I get to wake up, 2 feet on the ground, a huge thank you and gratitude to the big man upstairs for giving me another day and a view like this, no matter what the weather is. And
right.
Hey, we got all seasons here.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And Cindy, I want to ask, first responders shift work, right? So if we are looking to get involved in a one-day, multi-day, you have a big event coming up the end of this week. How would a first responder go about planning the planning process in terms of their shift stuff?
So planning on their own activity or getting involved with the organization, Sam?
Getting involved with you, is it a matter of just looking at a calendar and kind of moving stuff around? Okay.
Both ways. So we put together an annual calendar, but we also have become a tool for different organizations to reach out to. Very, very commonly, we'll have organizations reach out and say, hey, we've just had this incident. Or, hey, this is the start of a new season for us. We really want to get these folks out on the water. And so we do activations for agencies and organizations in small group fashion. We've done it anywhere from 4 to 30. So not a problem whatsoever. So if what we're talking about it resonates or use, again, we have wellness directors who put it in their toolbox, and they'll reach out to us when they've had situations and said, hey, can you come in? Can we get this crew out on the water? So we work in different levels. We work in the individual levels of if what we're talking about resonates, send me an email. If you're in a certain area, we will connect you with the ambassadors or with the resources that can help you get out in whatever form or fashion works for you.
And are you nationwide?
We do programs around the nation. We began in Texas, so obviously our roots are a little deeper here, but we've done programs throughout the country. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm thinking, water, weather, if in San Diego, not a problem year round, pretty much.
Right.
But it's eventually going to get chilly here in Texas. So how do you work around our crazy winters? Because it's either ice, it could be ice or 70.
Right. Well, we do a lot of we do the cycling events too, in the throughout the year. But you're right, Texas is extremely fickle, and we don't have a problem getting out year round here. So we're pretty fortunate with the weather, because it can be 80 one day and the 20s in the next. But again, when the weather is not providing the atmosphere that we want, or that's an individual needs, again, that inspiration of, okay, so if it is 20, how can you find your water? Can you go find a float tank? Can you sit in a jacuzzi, right? But being intentional about what you're going to. So I personally know that water works very well for me. And I can, in my office, you will find a fountain. You will find a background of water noises. You will find a background of birds in the mornings. And so I intentionally create my environment. And to your point, Sam, the weather may not cooperate. Snow is water. So, when you don't talk to a snowboarder or snow skier and say you don't have water, they're going to be like, I got mountains full of it.
So water sounds. I was thinking the Jaws theme. When you said water sounds, I was thinking dun 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 dun.
I think that might be a little stressing.
And that's learning how to manage. That's working on your resiliency, right? Mindset.
But when you did touch on a point before when you talked about peer support groups, and I hope there are peer support groups that are doing this with a lot of our organizations. That if there is a critical incident within a department, instead of immediately saying you got to go see a therapist or you got to go see this, they should be utilizing the tools in their toolbox and saying, okay, 30 days after the incident or 90 days after the incident, we're going to send you and your spouse. Go out on the water, relax for the weekend, decompress. I don't think a lot of our peer supports are utilizing the tools in their toolbox in a wide variety. They're so focused on that one thing.
Right. In creative ways. I mean, and I think I spoke about this a little earlier, that the witnessing that we've seen on the water is many times, incident after incident after incident, it locks up. And what I've seen happen is that unlocking start to occur. And then maybe a little more next time, or that confidence, or that finding. A lot of times it's just finding yourself again, right? Like you get so beat down or so much just stuffed inside and compartmentalized to get up and keep going and do it again that we forget who we are. And we want to be, we remember, but we don't know how to reactivate that. And so to kind of diving into those opportunities that help somebody find themselves or feel that a little, even if it's a little bit, right? I don't care if it's a salt grain, just sprinkle in on that then starts giving them that power and that confidence to maybe then go to therapy or do EMDR, whatever it might be. But for an organization or peer support group to have those tools, because you're so right, John. I mean, after an incident, many times you're like, that's the last thing I want to do right now is go talk about it. So, but as a group, we've seen this so many times, to get them out, let them reconnect, let them humanize again, and then those next steps come.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
It's what we need. You know, it's what we need our peer support groups and our law enforcement bosses and managers to do is, you know, think of things outside the box, not what they're not the norm, but think outside the box, because everybody's got a different healing method.
You're exactly right. So it's not a one size fits all wellness world. That's
Right.
for sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And that is true. We've been there. We participated in a bunch of different things. Everybody heals in their own way. And it's fantastic to hear, Cindy, that you're in and partnered with different departments and giving folks opportunity to do that. We have got to take a quick break. Hey, we are talking to Cindy Present. She is the co-founder of Operation Get Out. We will be right back after these messages, folks. Stay tuned.
Rise and vibe with your new elevated morning ritual. Meet Rise by Frequence. Frequency-charged nutrition. Rise is formulated with a blend of 7 different organic mushrooms, B vitamins, amino acids, and green coffee bean extract. Rise supports brain health, performance, and focus while enhancing mood, mental clarity, and energy. Enjoy the delicious mango lemonade flavor while giving your mind the nutrients it needs. Get charged up with Rise. Fuel your body and mind today.
All right. And welcome back to the podcast, everybody. And, we have talked about this before. You can rise and vibe with me and John. You've heard the term nootropics. A lot of people, it's been this thing that's been going on for a bunch of years. But just in case you haven't, and nootropics are new to you, Rise is something that I take every single day. It's believed to support healthy cognitive function, mental clarity, and overall brain health. Rise is formulated with a blend of 7 different organic mushrooms, B vitamins, amino acids, and the caffeine that's in it. It's only 100 milligrams, so it's not like a ton. It's organic green coffee bean extract. Everything comes together with a delicious fruit and citrus flavors to make mango lemonade a healthy, tasty treat for your body and your mind. There is no sugar. It is keto friendly. I love it as a pre-workout. I add the source minerals to it. And, it is like drinking the most refreshing iced tea on a hot summer. And we're going into fall, but it's still hot here in Texas.
still refreshing.
It is super refreshing. And the pre-workout, it focuses you right in, powers me through the workout, stays with me throughout the day. And it's super easy right now. If you visit abadgeofhonorhealth.com, we have a package that we've put together. You can subscribe and save on that. Just go to abadgeofhonorhealth.com, get your Rise 21-day supply. You can also get it together with the source, the minerals that I just talked about, which again, they are all the minerals that you need for healthy brain and body function. abadgeofhonorhealth.com. And now back to the podcast with Cindy Present from Operation Get Out. So, Cindy, how can people, what's the best way for people to reach you? Because you've got 2 upcoming events, so they can go after they listen on their favorite podcast app or they're watching us live. Where can they go immediately to find out?
Well, definitely to the website, operationgetout.org. Our social handles are opgetoutorg, at opgetoutorg on Insta and Facebook. And you can reach us for any of the upcoming events or any personal, individual activations or organization agency activations you're interested in. We have our fall retreat coming up this coming weekend, October 4th through 6th on Canyon Lake. And then on October 8th, we'll be up in your neck of the woods at Marine Creek Lake. And we'll be doing a small group activation up to about 20 people for boating and wake surfing. It's hosted by Get Out and Centurion Boats. It's actually held the day before a Wake Surf World Championships. So there'll be some great riders in, and just a fun day to get out and, goodness gracious, keep enjoying this amazing, never-ending summer we're having here in Texas.
You said it.
Yeah.
Wow, that is super exciting. And the people, this is veterans and first responders. How about family members?
Absolutely. Veterans, first responders, nurses, frontline. We've served so many nurses, especially since COVID. It's a demographic that in my world had gone really unfocused on. And we had so many friends and individuals come out of that career set post COVID and not looked back. And we've lost some really amazing nurses in Central Texas, and I'm sure it's been across the country. So we're really trying to embrace that demographic and provide as many services as we can there as well.
And that's great. And it's everybody together, because some organizations like, all right, we got police and fire, we're doing this. Is every event for all the first responders, veterans, nurses, like across the board, or do you segment out for certain ones?
We'll segment out
to contact you.
Yeah, we'll segment out based on those that contact us and want those specialized. We have an all women's event. You'll appreciate this, Sam. We just had our 11th annual Get Out Girl Surf and Paddle Jam in Austin, and that event specifically benefits female first responders, the female segmentation, responders, nurses, and military. We host that in Austin, and this past weekend we had over 300 women on the water at one time. And all those proceeds kick back to the organization, and it's just super impactful and powerful to embrace women who are serving. No disrespect to the male profile whatsoever, right? But again, it helps those women humanize what each other do and what they, again, like with the nurses and how they've been serving. And that's a super super special event to us that we offer every September, and that's one of our all-female events.
Well, that's fantastic. And we do connect on a different way. Yeah, we can joke and, go out with the guys, and certainly we can hang with them because we train with them. But there is a different connection point when you're outside of work to be able to do that. And like you said, I mean, there's a lot of healing that goes on when you can connect in that way.
I can't comment on it, so I'm just.
Well, sure you can, John, because you're married, right, so, and your wife is like, I'm going out with the girls.
Well, on a male aspect of this, I think females have a harder and a more stressful role when they're in law enforcement, firefighting, paramedic. When they play those roles in the male-dominated career path that it's been dominated from the 1800s. Some of those people in the upper management give women a much harder time. So they have to go on. They deal with a lot more stresses than the guys sometimes, because they have to deal with the imaginary. Huh?
That's right. And then we go on to kids.
Yeah, and you don't want to talk about it being stressful because you don't want to feel less powerful, right?
Correct.
And so, I mean, I have these conversations with some of, I call them my younglings, some of those, that are in these career paths. And I'm like, we need to own our stories, right? I mean, the most powerful thing we can do is to talk about our trauma and what we perceive as a weakness, but it's not. It's a human aspect, right? When things affect us. And that's how we're going to create change, right? That's owning our story, male or female. Owning our story can be one of the most positive, influential resiliency aspects that we can have, because then others plug into it and you become that change, that tide, which we've seen a lot of that. We've seen a lot of that with some of these taboo conversations around trauma and mental wellness. But the more we can talk about it and own that story, the more change that we can make, and the healthier we will all become because of it.
Yeah, and understand that you're not your trauma. That's the change, because some people own their trauma and they stay owning it for forever. They identify with that D in PTSD. We believe it's an injury that can be overcome. We're certainly not disordered. And this is definitely a way. Hey, if you're tuning in on the tail end, everybody heals in a different way. And there is nothing wrong with couch therapy, but to be out in nature, connected with bigger things, a larger power that has brought you all of this nature and beauty. It is a different way of healing, and it is very powerful, and very, very healing. Cindy, we want to thank you so much for coming on and telling us all about Operation Get Out. I put the excuse me, I put the website back up on the screen for everybody listening on your favorite podcast app. Go to operationgetout.org. You can also connect with them on social media. They've got an activity or a big event coming up this weekend, October 4th through 6th. There's a few spaces left, and you can get in on that. And it's first responders, veterans, and family members. So go take advantage of that. Get out, and make your op last and make it special. So thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
We will see you again soon.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
This is fantastic. You will find Operation Get Out. You can go to our website, abadgeofhonor.org, and we put their banner up that links to Operation Get Out. So don't be a stranger. If you don't have to love the water, but if you're thinking about doing something different, jump in. I mean, do it, because you never know where your wellness is going to connect with. And the more experiences that you have, the better, because then it's an awareness piece. It's a tool in your toolbox.
Yep. And
you will be better off for it. And, we have got a full fall coming up here. Again, if you're wanting to take advantage of Operation Get Out's upcoming fall retreat, that's this coming weekend, October 4th through 6th. Go on their website, or just click on the link from our website, click on their logo, and get signed up for that. October 11th, a week from this Friday, we will be with our partners at Ashling Equine Therapy, outside in nature, doing an 8-hour, this one's TCOL certified for all your first responders in Texas. You know what I'm talking about. You can go to our website. There's a pop-up right there. You can sign up. All the sign-ups are happening through Ashling Equine Therapy, because there's a couple of things, including a waiver that you have to do. We'll be working with the horses and also building our wellness and resiliency toolboxes at the same time. We will be putting up our November and December events with our partners and Garland Police Department. Those also are TCOL certified, an 8-hour interactive workshop that talks about how to build your wellness and resiliency skills to battle the stress that comes with the job. All these events, breakfast, lunch included. We want to thank our partners that provide for that. So look for that on our website, abadgeofhonor.org, and also that important donate button. Just like Operation Get Out, they can't do this alone. Neither can we. There's a big blue donate button on our website. Every little bit counts. It goes right back into programming for our first responders and our veterans. And first responders out there, you have got prayer warriors all over the place. And I mean globally. We are praying for you every single day. Thank you for what you do, taking care of our communities. To all of our veterans out there, thank you for fighting the good fight, to allow John and I to do a show like this and talk about people like Tampon Tim. Gosh darn it. Get out of freaking that Minneapolis if you live there. Come, I can't stand it. It truly is a disgrace to all of our first responders that serve up there. Come down to Texas, where we appreciate you. But thank you for fighting that good fight so we can do a show like this every week. And for our active duty personnel that are now active in war zones, ongoing across the globe. We are praying for your safe return and for the success in your operations. You're not hearing a lot about those either. Gee, I wonder why. But we are praying for you as well. Thank you for keeping our shores safe. John, take us home.
Man, just remember, any step towards mental health wellness is your first step. Let us do the rest. We'll take you through it. But you guys have got to take that first step towards a better mental health life. So take that first step. Like Apex says, we can give you the toolbox. We can teach you how to use the tools. You just got to make that phone call. That's all you got to do. Take that first step, make the phone call. Till next week. Peace.
See you later, everybody.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBM Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBM Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.